Another faction done, and another part of Kali's story to be told. Despite the shortness that is the companion's questline, it does introduce a lot of interesting parallels to Kali's life during her time with Randvik's crew. Now, during her young life, she grew up, working for Randvik as Aisling kind of forced her into it. She didn't have much of a say in what she was doing with this, but she just went because Aisling was her father, essentially, at this point. But she did not like taking from other people as much as, Randvig would want her to, or the other members of the crew would. So she started working to try and not really undermine him, but make lives easier for their victims. Because of this, she would not take nearly as much as Randvig asked of her in terms of jobs. Instead, she would get less in return for that, but they would still do some bad stuff, and it kind of forced Kali's hand to make her own splinter sect inside the thieving crew. Now, there weren't very many people who would willingly join Kali and Michael against Randvig. Randvig was this big, imposing figure. So, it was mostly the younger people of the crew that would join her. The other cut purses, the other pickpockets, the smaller groups, essentially. During this time, she would be introduced to a half-dwarven woman by the name of Maeve. Aisling brought her in, similar to how Kali and Michael were, but she wasn't really adopted by him. She was more adopted by the crew as a whole. Maeve was a very interesting person. She was mostly reserved, but very confrontational against people who spoke out against Randvig. Kali knew right away that the reason why Maeve wanted to join her small little group was to kind of undermine their undermining. But a sort of mutual rivalry / friendship grew between them, and they became close. In terms of Skyrim, I view Aela as the replacement of Maeve, even though they don't have a very similar personality. The only thing similar to them is that they're both very strong-minded. Due to Kali and Michael's reputation, I guess I should say, in River's Rest, they started becoming known in the guards as well as thieves that can be respected and somewhat trusted, even. So they were given a little leeway when it came to some of the more petty crimes they would do, because they know that they were doing their absolute best to minimize any possible harm to the citizens as much as possible. So they were respected in that regard. It was during this time also that Kali began delving into magic, though not in a way that Michael would. Michael was a very gifted practitioner of magic, able to pick up spells and casting magic a lot easier than most people can. But Kali, she was very much brute force, very simple and straightforward in that logic. So, her brand of magic developed into alteration magic, spells that would alter her physicality in some way. This is very similar to the lycanthropy that we see in the companion's questline, and is actually very similar to Kali's specific brand of alteration magic. Kali will use bits and pieces of animals, monsters, insects to give herself an advantage in battle that most alteration practitioners don't think about. Most alteration users would go with, stone, steel, iron to enhance their defenses. Kali would go, why? Get some grasshopper leg and I can jump farther. Give me hair of a cat, and I'm a lot more nimble. This was her branch of magic that she was able to almost invent, even though there are other practitioners of this. She became very well known in this regard and started being referred to as a beast because of this. Beyond her race as a beastkin, she did have a much bigger reputation as almost a Barghest, which is a very infamous creature in Jokul. But not quite there yet. People just started referring to her as the Hound, the Wolf, just because she liked to take wolf hairs and use them for more ferocity for her brand. So a lot of people viewed her with a little more skepticism. This was around in her lifetime when she was roughly from the ages of 13 to 17. During this time period, she founded the splinter sect of the Thieving Crew. Maeve joined the crew, and even started a budding relationship with them beyond their obvious animosity towards each other or rivalry, I should say, not animosity. The rivalry in terms of Kali undermining Ranvig, whereas Maeve didn't want to. Which brings us to the next portion of Kali's story, where her past comes back to bite her in the ass a little bit, and she gets a long-awaited revenge. See you guys in the next one.